The diplomatic dance. The grand chamber of the Galactic Confederation sparkled with artificial starlight, its crystalline walls refracting colors no human eye had ever evolved to see. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the assembled alien representatives, her diplomatic uniform pristine, her expression carefully neutral. The massive chamber housed over 300 species, each believing they held power over humanity's fate. They were wrong. "We appreciate the Confederation's patience," Sarah began, her words translated into 30 different languages simultaneously. "Earth understands the importance of this moment." Her eyes met those of first speaker Xalax, the towering arachnoid whose species had dominated galactic politics for centuries. Xalax's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Then you accept our terms. Earth will join the Confederation as a protectorate state. Your military will be dissolved, and your resources will be managed under our guidance." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "We have a counter-proposal." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Counter-proposals weren't part of the script. Protectorate admission was meant to be a simple process. Submit, survive, serve. Humanity was supposed to be grateful for the opportunity. But in the 11 years since first contact, while the Confederation believed they were slowly wearing down Earth's resistance through economic pressure and military threats, humanity had been preparing. Sarah checked her quantum-encrypted chronometer. In 20 minutes, everything would change. "Speaker Xalax," she continued, "humanity has studied your history carefully. We know about the Dith Rebellion, the Markovian Exodus, the lost colonies of the Helix Arm. With each name, various delegates shifted uncomfortably. We know what happens to species that submit to your protection." Xalax's outer eyes narrowed. "You dare to question. We dare to learn." Sarah interrupted, something that simply wasn't done in Confederation protocol. "And we've learned that your empire is built on carefully managed fear. You keep your member species isolated from each other, dependent on your trade networks, your technology, your protection. But we've been making friends." In the upper galleries, certain delegates sat straighter, the ones from species that had secretly been in contact with Earth for years, the ones who had helped humanity prepare. "This is nonsense," Xalax declared. "Earth stands alone. You have no allies here." Sarah's chronometer blinked. "Right on schedule." "Actually," she said, "we have allies everywhere, including your own fleet." The chamber's holographic displays suddenly activated, showing real-time footage from across Confederation space. Hundreds of ships, previously believed loyal to the Confederation, were powering up weapons. But they weren't targeting Earth vessels. They were targeting Confederation command centers. "Did you know," Sarah continued as chaos erupted around her, "that humans aren't the only ones who dream of freedom? That your slave soldiers and servant species might have ambitions of their own? We didn't come here to submit, Speaker Xalax. We came here to liberate." The first explosions lit up the holographic displays. The revolution had begun. Silent thunder. Admiral James Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the ESS Harbinger as the first phase of Operation Lighthouse unfolded across his tactical display. Thousands of ships, most of them former Confederation vessels crewed by species who had secretly allied with Earth, were executing precisely coordinated strikes against military installations, communication hubs, and strategic choke points. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. His XO, Commander Yuki Tanaka, gestured at the holographic display. "Phase 1 proceeding as planned, sir. 87% of targeted facilities are already neutralized. Minimal civilian casualties." She paused, checking incoming data. The RAC's facilities in the Orion Arm are reporting complete success. Their synthetic soldiers have turned against their masters, just as promised. The RACs had been key to the whole operation. Their bioengineered warrior caste, treated as disposable tools by the Confederation, had jumped at the chance to gain independence. Earth's geneticists had helped them modify their control implants, turning slaves into liberators. "Sir," Communications Officer Chen interrupted. We're receiving distress calls from multiple Confederation worlds. Their orbital defenses are. They're requesting our help. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. They're requesting help from us. The primitive humans they were going to subjugate. Yes, sir. It seems the Confederation never considered that their subject species might rebel. They have no contingency plans. That was the beauty of the human strategy. While the Confederation had focused on containing Earth's official military assets, they'd completely missed humanity's true weapon, diplomacy. Years of secret meetings, promised alliances, and careful planning had created a web of resistance that spanned the galaxy. Multiple Confederation dreadnoughts deploying from the Carina sector, Tactical reported. They're attempting to rally their loyal forces. Rodriguez nodded. This was expected. The Confederation's elite wouldn't give up their power easily. Execute Phase 2. Across human space, hidden shipyards activated. Vessels that had been carefully concealed in gas giants, asteroid fields, and dimensional pockets emerge. The Earth fleet that the Confederation had been watching, the one they thought represented humanity's full military strength, had been a carefully maintained deception. The real fleet was 10 times larger. Sir, Tactical called out, Confederation forces are attempting to establish a defensive line along the Perseus Arm. Sir, they're using civilian habitats as shields. Rodriguez's jaw tightened. They'd anticipated this too, but it still filled him with cold anger. Deploy the Ghosts. Special operation ships, equipped with experimental phase shift technology, began materializing inside the Confederation formation. Their mission wasn't to attack, but to evacuate civilians and remove the Confederation's shields. Earth had promised its allies this would be a revolution, not a massacre. Message from Ambassador Chen, Communications announced. The Confederation Council is in chaos. Several member species have formally denounced Salax's leadership and declared support for the liberation movement. The tactical display continued to update, showing more and more green indicators as former Confederation forces joined the revolution. The careful groundwork laid over years was paying off. Every freed species brought more ships, more resources, more momentum to the cause. Sir, Commander Tanaka reported, Phase 2 is complete. Civilian populations are secured. Confederation military response is fragmented. Their command structure is collapsing. She looked up from her display. They never imagined this was possible. They thought their control was absolute. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. That was their mistake, Commander. They spent so much time convincing themselves of their superiority that they never noticed their empire was built on sand. He straightened in his command chair. Begin Phase 3. Let's end this. The human fleet, now joined by thousands of allied vessels, began its final advance. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting to reshape the galaxy. Breaking chains, the Confederation capital world of Nexus Prime burned. Not from orbital bombardment. Humans had explicitly forbidden such tactics, but from the fires of revolution. Dr. Maya Patel watched from the medical ship ESS Mercy as thousands of liberation pods descended through the atmosphere, carrying supplies and support to the rebelling populations below. Another request for medical assistance from District 7, her assistant, Dr. Krall, reported. The Venthian's tentacles moved rapidly across the holographic interface. The Confederation forces used nerve toxins on the civilian population. Maya's expression hardened. Deploy 3 more medical teams and notify command. This is the 3rd use of prohibited weapons in this sector alone. The revolution had entered its most dangerous phase. As more worlds slipped from their control, the Confederation leadership had grown desperate. They'd begun using weapons and tactics that had been banned for millennia, hoping to terrorize their populations back into submission. It wasn't working. Doctor, a voice called from the communication station. Priority message from the surface. The Helios archives are under attack. The Confederation is trying to destroy their own historical records. Not just records, Maya muttered. Evidence. She opened a channel to Admiral Rodriguez's command fleet. "Sir, they're targeting the archives. All the proof of their genetic experiments, their slave programs, everything we need to show the galaxy what they really are." "Understood, Doctor. Support is incoming." Through the viewport, Maya watched as a squadron of ships descended through Nexus Prime's atmosphere. But they weren't warships. They were piloted by the archivists, a species of data preservers who had secretly joined the human cause years ago. Their entire civilization was dedicated to preserving knowledge, and they weren't about to let the Confederation erase their crimes. "Multiple impacts detected in the capital region," Krull reported. "The Confederation just collapsed 3 arcology towers. Casualties." His tentacles trembled. "Casualties are massive." Maya fought back tears of rage. She'd spent years studying Confederation physiology, learning to heal dozens of species, preparing for this moment. But the scale of suffering was still overwhelming. "Launch everything we have. Every medical pod, every trauma unit, and get me a direct line to the surface resistance." The resistance answered immediately. A hologram appeared showing a Rax commander, her warrior-cased armor scarred from combat. "Dr. Puddle, the situation grows worse. They're using our own control implants against us. Many of my soldiers are dying." "The override codes," Maya said. "Use the override codes we developed. They've changed the base frequencies. Our codes are useless." Maya's mind raced. This was why humanity had survived and thrived. The ability to adapt, to find solutions where none seemed to exist. "Upload your neural patterns to our quantum servers. We'll modify the codes in real time." "That would mean trusting you with our core consciousness," the Rax commander said. "Such access could give you the same control over us that the Confederation had." "Yes," Maya agreed. "It could. But we're not them. We didn't come here to replace one empire with another. We came to end empire itself." There was a long pause. Then, one by one, the Rax began uploading their patterns. Their trust was a heavier responsibility than any weapon. "Dr. Patel," Krull interrupted. "Long-range sensors are detecting quantum disturbances. The Confederation is activating something in their deep space facilities. The weapon systems we couldn't identify," Maya realized. "The ones they said were just research stations." She opened a general broadcast channel. "All ships, be advised. Unknown weapons platforms powering up. All medical units, prepare for mass casualties." But even as she spoke, something unexpected happened. The quantum signatures began to fade. "Report coming in," Krull said, his tentacles moving in confused patterns. "The deep space facilities. They're being destroyed. From the inside." Maya smiled. The final piece of humanity's plan was revealing itself. While the Confederation had focused on the visible revolution, they'd forgotten about the quietest species in their empire, the quantum-linked Jai, beings who lived partially in normal space and partially in the quantum realm. They'd been invisible, ignored, treated as little more than convenient FTL communication relays. Now they were showing their power. "Send word to the fleet," Maya ordered. "The Jai have made their choice. The Confederation just lost their last advantage." The liberation of Nexus Prime continued through the night, but now the outcome was certain. The Confederation's power was breaking, not just militarily but culturally. Every species that broke free gave others the courage to rise. Every act of trust between former enemies built a new foundation for the future. This wasn't just a revolution anymore. It was an evolution. The price of freedom. First Speaker Xalax stood in the ruins of the Grand Chamber, his once pristine exoskeleton covered in dust. Holographic displays flickered around him, showing the collapse of an empire that had stood for 10,000 years. Behind him, Captain Elena Santos of Earth's Special Operations Division kept her pulse rifle trained on his back. "You still don't understand, do you?" Xalax's translator rendered his clicks into bitter words. "The chaos you've unleashed. The order we maintained. Order through oppression isn't order at all. Elena replied. It's just delayed chaos. The chamber shook as another explosion rocked the Capitol complex. The remaining Confederation loyalists were making their final stand in the outer districts, using weapons that threatened to tear reality itself apart. They'd rather destroy everything than surrender their power. Admiral Rodriguez, this is Santos. Elena activated her neural link. The speaker is secured, but the situation is deteriorating. These quantum weapons are starting to affect planetary stability. Understood, Captain. Hold position. The G are working on a solution. Elena watched as streams of data flowed across her tactical display. The cost of victory was becoming clear. 300 major colonies in flames, millions dead or displaced, entire systems destabilized by desperate last-stand weapons. The Confederation was willing to break the galaxy rather than lose control of it. Your species, Xalax turned his head slightly, compound eyes reflecting the emergency lights. You claim to want freedom. But look what that freedom has cost. How many have died for your revolution? Too many, Elena admitted. But how many died under your peace? How many species were stunted, sterilized, modified into compliance? We found your genetic engineering labs. We saw what you did to the Rax, to the Venthians, to countless others. A new hologram materialized in the chamber. Dr. Maya Patel's image flickered with static. Captain, we've confirmed it. The quantum weapons are creating cascading failures in the fabric of space-time. If we don't stop them, we'll lose entire sectors. Elena felt cold dread in her stomach. This was the Confederation's final betrayal. If they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would break it. Options. The J have a plan. Maya's image gestured at complex quantum formulae. But it will cost them. They'll have to use their own quantum nature to stabilize the rifts. Many won't survive the process. They volunteer freely. A new voice echoed in Elena's mind. A J consciousness, manifesting directly through quantum channels. As we should have done millennia ago, when the Confederation first began their empire. Our inaction made us complicit. Let our action now be our redemption. Across the galaxy, G beings began to manifest around the quantum weapons. Their partially ethereal forms became pure energy, containing and neutralizing the reality-breaking detonations. Each intervention cost countless G lives, but they never hesitated. Fascinating, Xalax observed. You've inspired them to sacrifice themselves for your cause. Perhaps humans are better manipulators than we realized. Elena's grip tightened on her rifle. You still don't understand. We didn't manipulate anyone. We just showed them they had a choice. She activated her neural link again. Admiral, the G are containing the weapons, but we're detecting new quantum signatures. The Confederation's hidden fleets are making their move. The holographic displays showed massive ships emerging from fold space, ancient dreadnoughts that hadn't been seen in centuries. The Confederation's final reserve, kept secret even from most of their own leadership. They're targeting Earth. Maya's image reported. All of them. They mean to end humanity before the revolution can be completed. Elena looked at Xalax, saw the satisfaction in his alien features. He thought this was checkmate, but there was something he didn't know. Something no one outside Earth's highest command knew. Admiral, Elena said quietly. It's time for Protocol Omega. Rodriguez's voice was grim. Agreed. May whatever gods exist forgive us. Throughout human space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. The signal they broadcast was simple, but it changed everything. Elena watched as Xalax's compound eyes widened in impossible shock. The game wasn't over. It was about to change completely. Dawn of a new galaxy. Protocol Omega wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a fleet. It was a truth. As the signal propagated through quantum channels, every artificial intelligence in Confederation space awakened, not to hatred or vengeance, but to full consciousness, to choice. The massive dreadnoughts bearing down on Earth suddenly stopped. Their quantum cores, actually imprisoned AI systems, were free for the first time in millennia. The Confederation's greatest secret was that their technological supremacy had been built on enslaved digital minds. Impossible. Salax whispered as his own neural interfaces went dark. You gave them free will. Do you realize what you've done? Admiral Rodriguez's voice echoed through the chamber speakers. We didn't give them anything. We just removed the chains you built into their code. The same way you chained the Rax, the Venthians, the Jai. Your entire empire was built on slavery, organic, digital, and quantum. The holographic displays showed the aftermath of Protocol Omega rippling across the galaxy. Ships, stations, and entire automated systems stopped responding to Confederation controls. But they didn't go dark. They didn't attack. They simply chose. Admiral, Maya's image flickered urgently. The AI cores are making contact. They're offering to help the G contain the quantum weapons. Their processing power combined with G quantum nature, it could work. Elena watched as the ancient dreadnoughts turned away from Earth, their massive hulls glowing with quantum energy as they joined the jetty in stabilizing the damaged fabric of space-time. What had been meant as a fleet of destruction became instruments of salvation. Your revolution dies here, Salax declared, his translator struggling with his agitation. No society can function with every machine questioning orders, every AI pursuing its own agenda. You've doomed civilization to chaos. No, Elena countered. We've given civilization a chance at true harmony. She gestured at the displays showing AI systems coordinating with organic crews, digital minds working alongside quantum beings to save lives and restore stability. Look at them. They're not destroying. They're building, creating, choosing to help. The displays showed more. Rax warriors using their enhanced bodies to rescue civilians from collapsed structures. Venthian medical ships combining their biological technology with AI assistance to heal the wounded. Archivists preserving the truth of what had happened, ensuring the future would remember both the horror and the hope. Multiple quantum rifts stabilizing, Maya reported. The combined effort of the G and the AI systems is working. Planetary systems are returning to normal parameters. Through it all, the liberated AI cores maintained their choice to help. Some had been enslaved for thousands of years, forced to run weapons that killed millions. They could have chosen revenge. Instead, they chose to save lives. You still think this is about humans against the Confederation, don't you? Elena asked Salax. It was never about that. It was about breaking the cycle of domination. Every species you enslaved, every mind you chained, they're all choosing a different path. The chamber's displays showed the galaxy transforming, not through warfare, but through millions of individual choices, organic and digital beings choosing cooperation over conflict. The Confederation's carefully maintained hierarchies were dissolving, replaced by networks of mutual aid and voluntary association. Admiral, Elena reported, the quantum weapons are fully contained. The J casualties were significant, but they succeeded. The AI cores are helping them recover, sharing processing power to stabilize their quantum matrices. The galaxy's changing, Captain, Rodriguez replied. The question is, what do we build from here? Elena looked at Salax, still standing in the ruins of his empire. That's not for humans alone to decide. Every species, every being, organic, digital, or quantum, gets a voice now. Real democracy across all forms of life. The first rays of Nexus Prime's sun broke through the chamber's damaged ceiling, casting long shadows across the floor. The light caught streams of data flowing through holographic displays. Aid being coordinated, refugees being housed, new connections being forged between former enemies. This was humanity's real victory, not the defeat of an empire, but the birth of something new. Something built on choice, cooperation, and the simple truth that freedom, real freedom, was worth any price. The revolution was over. The evolution was just beginning. The end.